I am fascinated by some research that has noted that women who have had adverse childhood experiences or trauma tend to have more severe menopause symptoms. And so I wanted to come and have Becky Burns talk with us. Becky is a licensed TIMBo mentor and an IET healer. And she has some really interesting skills in areas where all these things intersect. So Becky, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
So tell me about TIMBo. You and I have talked about it a little bit, but not everybody knows that acronym.
So TIMBo stands for Trauma Informed Mind Body. And it is a program that was developed by Suzanne, who is also an award-winning author of There's Nothing to Fix. And so that's what it stands for. Do you want me to describe about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So TIMBo is gender specific, mostly for women, but the program can help everyone. And I came to learn about TIMBo in my 40s. No, almost 50. I was almost 50.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister-in-law told me about this program, and she sponsored me to go through the training. And I was like, oh yes, I would love to learn how to help heal people. I want to help people with trauma. And because I want to help people with trauma, because my daughter as a teenager suffered horrific trauma, and I didn't at that time have the tools to help her the way I really think she needed me to. I mean, my husband and I did the best we could.
Of course, yeah.
We got her the help that we thought she needed, but I wish I had had more skills at that time.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's how I was interested in learning about trauma and helping other people with other teenagers or young women with trauma at the time.
What a motivation. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, great, yes, let me do this. And I didn't really realize that going through this training was going to help me heal myself, my own trauma. And everybody has trauma, you know, in one way or another, just because we're humans.
Mm-hmm.
So we all figure out how to be in this world. We, develop adaptations as children in order to stay safe, with our caregivers.
Sure. One person's trauma is not another person's trauma.
Exactly.
And trauma can be big, but it might be what somebody might consider small.
Exactly. And what I love about this program is that there's no comparison of who has bigger trauma and who,
It's not a contest.
It's not a contest. This program, you never, ever have to speak out loud what your trauma is.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about noticing what's going on with your body sensations, noticing how you feel in the present moment when you are having a triggered moment. If you're triggered by something that causes you to have an anxiety attack, and you're not really sure how to stop that or how to calm your nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
And it can wreak havoc in people's lives,
I'll bet. And
and
especially if it's like ingrained and you don't know why.
Yeah. And it's okay to not know why too. It's more important to notice what's going on in your body.
Interesting. Yeah.
And not necessarily, and not judge it. Okay. So you can, in TIMBo, we use awareness, acceptance, and space. So you learn to become aware of what's going on in your body. Say, your heart starts racing, or your stomach starts feeling nauseous or weird. You can notice those body sensations, and through the TIMBo program, we teach different breaths, different types of breathing techniques in order to calm the nervous system. And so you can notice and you can sit with these uncomfortable feelings because they're uncomfortable, and allow your body to settle and try and accept that you're feeling this way without judgment, which is probably the hardest thing to do.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
then give yourself some space with the breath
Mm.
in order to maybe not react in your usual stressful way, or whatever the situation may call for, and just give yourself the space before you make a decision on how you're going to respond or react to any given trigger situation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of information in this
It
short
is.
period of time. So
would somebody who is learning, if somebody wanted to learn these skills, is it a group class? Is it one-on-one? Where would somebody go to learn the skills that TIMBo will give them?
So originally TIMBo was just done in groups of women, usually no more than 20 to 25. But now, since Sue has written her book, I'm a licensed facilitator, I've been through the trainings.
Mhm.
We're allowed to use her book and work one-on-one as a mentor. I'm not a licensed therapist. I am a licensed TIMBo facilitator. I've learned this program. I can guide someone through this program using the book as a tool. So they read, we kind of go through sections at a time. We meet about 16 times. It can be more or less depending on the person. I'm pretty flexible with it because there's a lot of integration that goes into learning how to notice what's going on in your body and go through the different sections of the book, fear, guilt, shame. You go up the emotional pyramid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not, it's not an easy process, and it takes some integration in order to start practicing these things.
Mhm. Mhm. So it's not just a one-time class.
No, I mean,
Necessarily.
no. To be honest, no, it's not a one-time class.
Yeah.
It's a process. And
I guess I'm just thinking, I would, if I were introduced to the practices of TIMBo, I'm the kind of person who needs to practice and practice it. So being made aware and learning some of the breathing that you're describing is one thing, but kind of learning how to embrace it, I might need additional coaching and mentoring.
yes, because and I'll give you an example. Some people get very in their heads about explaining, how they're feeling. They're kind of disconnected from how their body feels. And I definitely do this. When I know I'm doing this is when I'm talking about something that is very emotional for me, that was traumatic for me, but I'm not actually feeling it. I'm just telling the story.
Oh,
I'm not embodying how it actually feels in my body.
yeah, that could be quite scary.
Yes. And most people don't want to do that. But then when you do that, when you hold this trauma in your body, it can cause dis-ease. It can cause illness. It can cause different things to go on in your body.
It can
Weight
cause
problems.
worse menopause symptoms. And
Yes.
menopause brings on, for many women, anxiety, stress, sleeplessness, heart palpitations, mood swings. And that's if you're not dealing, that's just anyway. If you have some kind of trauma or adverse childhood experience in your life, they're even worse. There's research that says 58% of women who have had adverse childhood experiences have worse menopause symptoms.
And I would agree with that. And I didn't, so just so happens I started learning about TIMBo while I was
Oh, sure.
going through menopause,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So having all these different mood swings and hormones going through my body, and learning these tools and stuff was such a gift. Hard at times. I remember after my first intensive 4-day training, coming home and integrating and being very excited about this, because I was like, oh, this new thing I can actually like use. It's like amazing, and you want everybody to know about it.
Yeah.
And then a few weeks in, I remember being like, feeling really angry and just being pissed off, like, well, now I have this awareness and I can't not be aware.
Congratulations, you're now aware. It sucks.
But I was so angry about it. I was like, well, now I can't just have my status quo and just be in my normal state,
Yeah.
which may have been not a good state, but it was what I knew. So
Yeah.
now everything's being awakened and jumbled, and now I have to be, reconsider how I look at things or how I feel in my body. I have to actually notice, or now I'm aware and I notice. So
but I actually think that's one of the interesting things about menopause is it's like, anyway, a woman often stops and says, wait a minute, how did I get here?
yes,
Why am I, why do I feel this way? What might be false about the stories I tell about myself?
yes,
Or why do I keep repeating this in my head, but I feel cut off, right?
yes,
And I think for some women, if menopause used to be called the change,
right,
this is part of the change. It's not necessarily the physical stuff. It's all this other stuff of taking stock. And I mean, to be able to deal with the awareness that I gave myself up in my 30s. What happened to me?
yes. And that's, I think, the beautiful part as we age as women. For me, I'll just speak for me, but you come to a certain point in your life, or I came to a certain point in my life where I was like tired of the patterns, or the negative destructive patterns that I continued to exhibit,
Sure. Yeah.
if you will. And learning the TIMBo tools, I learned it's okay to be curious about how you are in the world, or why you do things, but it's not, and I don't want to get stuck on, well, why am I like this way? Because the beautiful part of this program is you don't need to know why. You may want to know why, but you don't need to do this program.
I love that.
It's nobody ever has to do anything in this group. You can just come. We just ask that you come and be present, but you never have to talk. You don't have to share. You can just sit and observe. And I've had women do that. They show up every time to group. They participate in the breathing exercises and listening and the movement and the meditation, but they don't necessarily ever speak. They might do the check-in word or something. you know, so, but then you see towards the end of the progression of the program, you'll get these emotional shares and these noticings and, you know,
Insight.
this insight that is happening, and you'll see them crying watching someone else
Oh,
share.
yeah.
So, and that's the beauty of the group situation, is the empathy and the mutuality of the group. And usually if there's a group, there's two facilitators, two licensed facilitators to kind of keep it a safe container.
Sure.
And there's rules to how the TIMBo group goes. Nobody ever fixes anybody,
Uh-huh.
you know, because we as women and moms, you know,
We're fixers, yeah.
oh, you should do this diet, or you should go and see my therapist, or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that is discouraged. And we kind of, as facilitators, we kind of move along, and we teach women that they have what they need inside to heal themselves and notice what's going on. And it's a beautiful process when you see it click in a woman's eyes.
I'll bet. And it's something that a woman can take with her the rest of her life. It's
It's such a hopeful program.
mm-hmm. If I recall, you've introduced this to groups of women and other, this is not just an American thing.
Yes.
You've worked with groups of women in other countries.
Yes, I was given or worked towards an opportunity to go to Kenya in 2017 with the TIMBo, the Yoga Hope TIMBo Collective. And I had to fundraise, and we got to work with the Widows of the Rona Foundation.
Oh.
And it was amazing. And you find that we as humans, and women in particular, we're the same no matter, we have the same emotions, and I found that the widows, I remember one of them saying they didn't know that white women hurt or had pain like they did.
Yeah.
And it was just, it just brings humanity together, and it doesn't matter where you are in the world. And I've also traveled to Haiti, and the same thing, even with language barriers, we had interpreters, but still you can listen to a woman's story, even though you don't know exactly what she's saying, you can feel it. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And again, you're not necessarily getting into their specific traumas, their specific adverse lives, but you're changing. They're changing. They're held and supported.
Yes. And you can share your story if you want to.
Yeah.
And space will be held for you to do that. And we never offer a tissue. We have tissues all over the room, but we don't want to stop someone's process, because out in the real world, people are uncomfortable with people crying.
Yeah.
They want you to stop, not because you're uncomfortable, it's because they feel uncomfortable with you crying. So, I always say, like my mom used to say, and she probably heard that from her parents, like, you better stop crying before I give you something to cry about.
Oh, yeah.
Because as parents, we want our children to stop crying,
Yep. Stop crying, be happy.
Right.
Well, there's a phrase that I heard recently. It's, you can't outrun your trauma. And when you hit menopause, the demons start to catch up with you, which I thought was really interesting. Again, going back to the conversation we were having a few minutes ago, it's like in menopause, many women hit this point where they're wondering and questioning, and I've got half my life gone. What's the rest of my life going to be? Is it going to be like this? Those demons, they've never left.
Yes.
And it sounds like the practices of TIMBo would be very useful to many people, regardless of whether they're in menopause or not, but
Right.
dealing with some of the demons, unknown, unnamed, but they're there.
And on that, we're not, with this program, we're not trying to get rid of our emotions. We're just trying to notice them and allow them to flow through us, so they're not stuck.
They're not stuck. Yeah.
So we're not like saying, no, you shouldn't feel this way, or
Right.
snap out of it. It's just trying to teach it it's okay to feel a certain way, but not to, like, you don't have to stay in it.
There's stuff you can do with that feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
There are ways to move it through your body so you can get some relief.
Well, and that leads me to some questions about the IET. We're talking about energy. Emotions are
Yes.
energy, right? And
Correct.
being stuck or not, or just moving through. And so some of your other work is remind me, IET.
Integrated energy therapy is IET.
And so
And
that would be a cousin to that kind of identifying and moving energy, yeah? Or
yes, so Reiki, IET is like a more advanced version of Reiki. It's more precise in touching trigger points and moving energy through the body, and also purpose work, soul work. It's not kind of a one and done, but I wanted to integrate with my one-on-one work with TIMBo with my energy work as well, and offer, couple sessions or more, depending how the person feels about it. It's about an hour session, working from the crown to lower back, and kind of like TIMBo, like helping move those energy centers, working with the chakras, which are the energy centers, and not everybody knows that, but like you said, emotions are energy, and we are humans, and we have emotions whether we like it or not. And they're gonna get you one way or another, so we might as well learn to, I don't know if I want to use the word control, but we're the only ones who can control how we are in the world, and how we deal with our emotions. And I feel like there's power in that.
Yes, sovereignty.
To learn how to help yourself.
Yeah.
To feel better.
Yeah. And that gets back to where we very first started. You wanted to help. You wanted to know more about helping people. You wished you had those tools for your daughter. You're a healer.
And what was interesting is I didn't know I needed healing. I didn't know I had as much trauma as I have.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Yeah. Understood.
I thought I was just there to learn how to help other people. But like, if you need to, for me, I needed to learn how to help heal myself in order to pass that on.
A good teacher often experiences that as well, so that the gift that you truly understand the gift. So you mentioned a book.
Yes.
What was the name of that book again?
There is Nothing to Fix by Suzanne Jones. She has the TIMBo program in this, plus her story, plus many other women's stories that correlate with the different emotional, the emotional anatomy pyramid. So she has many examples of how this program has helped in certain situations and stuff like that.
Oh, so that would be a good tool or resource for anyone who Might be.
Yeah, so if someone wanted to just work on their own, they could just
Oh,
get the
awesome.
book.
Okay. Yeah.
I find it helpful to have other people involved with this, just to teach you really that it's biological, that we all have come up with ways to survive. And most of these things are adaptations that we've developed in order to stay alive in this world and connected.
Mhm.
Human beings want to be connected. And especially when we're young, we need to be connected to our caregivers in order to, stay in the tribe, stay in the cave or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
to have that love connection in order for someone to care for us,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And so we figure out how to be in this world. So, we learn that a lot of these things that these adaptations that we've developed, we don't necessarily need as adults. And we can learn to speak to our bodies and teach our bodies that you're safe right now.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
just calm our nervous system with the breath and the movement
Mm.
and the awareness. So
That sense of safety.
yeah, exactly.
We want it when we're children. We need it when we're children, and that need doesn't stop
Yes.
at that point. Becky, how would somebody uh, I'm going to put them in some show notes, but you're on social media or
Yes, I have
anywhere?
a small group on Facebook, the Holding Space RI. I'm based in Rhode Island. You can ask to join that group. I'm also on Instagram under the Holding Space RI.
Okay.
Um,
And I'll put these links.
yes, I have a website too. I'll give that information to you.
Watch the. I'm pointing down because I think the show notes show up, and once I post the
somehow
podcast,
magically.
yeah, it's magic. I love the 21st century. It's all magic. And so, as we wrap up here, though, are there? So now I've kind of led through some questions, but what should I have asked that I didn't ask about TIMBo or IET?
I feel like you did a really good job asking me questions. I just feel like I wish everybody would learn how to do this, whether it's with me or in a TIMBo group or through the book.
Mhm.
I found that once I learned about this, I wanted everybody to know about it
Yeah, yeah,
because it's, and I don't want to make it like it's this easy process, because it's not, but there's another side. There's the other side, and the layers coming, peeling the onion. Everyone uses
yeah.
that, but peeling the onion and feeling lighter in your daily life and is priceless.
What's the downside, right?
There's no downside.
No,
There's no
no.
downside.
And I think whether somebody is going through perimenopause or anywhere in their, even if they haven't started their menopause transition, but um, certainly from my experience, the other side of that transition, which is challenging, is so worthwhile. And if you need a hand or a key to help uh, unlock some of that churn during your transition, it sounds to me like TIMBo would be just a marvelous tool one way or another, because as you say, on the other side is life.
Yeah. You can actually pay attention to feeling joy as opposed to just feeling sadness or stress or whatever.
I love that. Feeling joy. I think that's a good note to end on.
I agree.
Becky, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thank you for
really
having me.
appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. And we'll talk next time. Thank you for listening. If you have questions or notes for me or Becky, check down in the show notes, and take care till next time. Thanks again, Becky.
Thank you.